channel, and today's video is going to be about sort of some tips and tricks of how to use radio telemetry. First things first, it is perishing today. It's -3, it's the coldest day for months and months. I haven't even got any wellies on because the mud is so frozen, and I am not going to form my words proper, that's for sure, because my mouth is freezing. It is cold today. We're going to teach you or show you some tips on how to use radio telemetry. Not GPS, we're going to talk purely radio telemetry. I use Marshall. This information is pretty standard. It doesn't matter what make you use if it's just radio telemetry. And let's face it, most falconers use radio telemetry, not GPS, most of them. And for sure, most beginners and novices, they use radio telemetry, not GPS. Simply because if you're a beginner or a novice, telemetry is very, very expensive stuff. It's a brilliant investment, worth every single penny, and you mustn't fly your birds without it. But for sure, you're probably going to buy a second-hand set as your first piece of equipment, and being second-hand, it's more likely to be radio. Now, I saw only this week Marshall 173 receiver with a transmitter on social media on the Falconry site, the Falconry Hub, and it was advertised, I think, for £300, really good condition, and a transmitter. That's a really good bargain, and that's the kind of thing most novices are going to be looking at getting, I would say. Even on social media, if you say to someone, oh, do you know how to use radio telemetry? They'll go, very often, oh, how hard can it be? Goodness sakes, it's not rocket science, is it? You point your receiver, and when it picks up a loud signal, that's where your bird is. You're not going to track a lot of birds that way, that's for sure, unless they're close by. The obvious way to learn how to use this kind of stuff is don't be a bloke, is to read the instructions it comes with. All the different sets, all the different manufacturers, they supply their telemetry with an instruction booklet with all the tips and tricks and how to use it in there. But most men, it's a man thing for sure. It's like when they do DIY, they build a cupboard and there's loads of screws left. It's a bit of an old joke, but it's true. They're too sort of, we're too sort of pig-headed and chauvinistic to think we need instructions. Yeah, well, read the instructions if you've got them. It'll help you no end how to find your lost bird. And also, if you bought that kit second-hand, not everyone looks after their kit like me, and they end up with no instructions with them. So this is for you guys that haven't got the instructions with your radio set, or you're too lazy to read them. First things first, of course, don't fly your birds without using telemetry. Make sure you switch it on. If it's not switched on and attached to the hawk or the bird, it's not going to work. We've all fell there, we've all done that. This one is designed to clip onto a tail mount or a backpack. You can leg mount, you can use neck mounts, you can use whatever suits your bird and your personal preference. We're not talking about mounting methods today, we're talking about how to use this bit of kit. So let's just show you some really basic stuff. Transmitter, I'm not going to switch it on for a second. Let's get the kit out. As I say, this is Marshall. The basic principle is the same with all radio telemetry really. We'll just drop that down there. It's not going to get muddy today, everything's frozen. So we've shown you the basic principles of this, and then the dials and the buttons and how it works already. And if we haven't, depending on how the video's cut, you'll see that in a second. So this is the areas, and this is your receiver, this is your transmitter. The aerial of the receiver is called a yagi or yagi, however you want to pronounce that. This and this correlate in more ways than most people seem to realise. So the big thing that you need to realise about how to use this is the way, or the plane of your yagi corresponds to the direction or the plane that the antennae on the aerial is held in. So here's an example. The bird's flying around. This is on its back or on its tail. The area of the transmitter is going to be horizontal, isn't it, while the bird's flying. It's not going to be dangling downwards if it's mounted on the bird's tail or its back. We're going to say it's tail mounted. The bird's flying around, you don't know where it is. The antenna's horizontal. So you scan around to find a signal. You're scanning around and you get a beep. It's telling you it's over there somewhere. One thing people don't realise is, as soon as you get a signal, flip your Yagi on the vertical plane. Take it from the horizontal, try it again on the vertical. If you're now getting a better signal than you did in this direction, it's because the antennae is vertical. This gets the most signal when the arms of the Yagi correlate with the antennae on the transmitter. I'm getting so cold, my brain's not working. So this is going to get the best signal. If I flip this way, the signal will be less because now these aren't lined up. If the bird's resting in a tree and this is on its tail, the transmitter aerial is now vertical. So if I check again with the Yagi vertical, I'll get a louder signal, a better reception, a better signal. Not only is that going to help me track my bird better, much more importantly, you know what your bird's doing. The bird must be sitting in a tree if this is on its tail, and you're getting a better signal this way up. If you're getting a better signal on the horizontal, the bird's probably still flying. If you're at full range of your equipment, and the bird's in a tree, and you only know to use your receiver holding it like this, you might not even get a signal and be able to locate your bird. Have a sweep round on the vertical plane. You might pick up a faint signal because you might have just lined that up better and getting a better reception. So remember, the arms on your aerial need to line up in the same plane and direction as your antennae on your transmitter to pick up the best signal. Use both planes when you're searching. Furthermore, this is how the signal comes away from your transmitter's area. It comes away like pebbles in a pond, away from the aerial here. And the same this side. The radio signal is coming away. I'm pointing this at you, tail on, and you're the receiver, you're picking up almost no information at all because the radio signals are going in that way, in ever widening arcs, and in that way, in ever widening arcs. It's not sending hardly anything out the end of the tail of the transmitter. If you've got a bird on a saw, especially a falcon, and you scan around, you don't know, it could be in a tree, you might be in trees over there, so you're scanning around, you're picking nothing up. Have a scan around in the sky. You might suddenly pick up a signal because your bird's soaring around. But what the signal will do, it'll get quite loud. Beep, beep, beep. Then all of a sudden, beep, beep, beep. And you'll think the bird's flying away. It isn't necessarily flying away. Birds soar in big circles as they go up. So as the transmitter comes around, it lines up with your aerial, you get a good signal. And as the bird circles around and around, all of a sudden, the end of the transmitter tail is pointing at you. You're getting no signal at all until the bird starts to complete its circle again. All of a sudden, you've lined up again. You've got a good signal. So always bear that in mind. If you've got a bird on the saw, the signal will come and go depending on how this is lining up with your bit of kit. Okay. So we can turn on the receiver just so we can turn on the transmitter. I always leave mine set to far. You've got far, medium and near on the Marshall. Leave it on far, so at least when you turn it on, you've got the maximum range to start with. Of course, you do need to write down your exact frequency of each of your transmitters. In the Marshall bag carry case, there's a handy little pocket for spare batteries and a little card to write them down on. With time, you can soon tune your receiver into any given transmitter that's in the air. But certainly if you're a novice, if you write down the exact frequency that your transmitter's on, any of this gets knocked or nudged, you can tune it in as soon as you've misplaced your hook. So magnetic one, it's got a, for those that don't know, on-off switch, magnetically operated inside. So we're tuned in. We've got fine tune here. to tune the tone in. So we've tuned it out there. We've got good tone there, so we know we've got a good signal and it's working, it's all switched on. And here is the gain, or the volume. And the higher the volume or the higher the gain, the more far-reaching this equipment is at this point. But we'll talk to you about that in a second. You have to find out about your own make of transmitter, but for sure the way the Marshall ones work is every 11 beeps you'll get a quick double beep if your battery time is running out. Don't think I'll change it tomorrow, it's double bleeping, or I'll put a new battery in at the end of the week, because that's exactly when it'll be the first time you ever lose your bird and now you've lost it and your transmitter's about to go flat. So if it double beeps, or depending on the kit you've got, if it tells you the battery's getting flat, swap it over for £1 or £2, who cares? Better than losing your hook. So I'm going to leave it here. Bear in mind, I don't know how this is going to work, and I'm hoping the horses won't eat it. It's going to be shielded by concrete. I'm hoping that's going to help us. It's going to be on a horizontal plane. We're going to pretend the bird's flying. We're going to head off now about half a mile away, and we'll see if we can use the distance and the concrete shielding that to tell you a little bit more about basic use of telemetry. Okay, now I'm going to say about half a mile from where we've left that transmitter, and between us, we know it's in that direction because we put it there. Between us is a huge concrete building, a stately home, woodland and copse. First things first, get yourself to the nearest bit of ground. Let's just go up here, it's a bit higher. Line of sight between receiver and transmitter gives you the best signal. So I think on the Marshall website it'll say that some of their transmitters, their radio transmitters, will be picked up by the receiver 30 miles away. Don't forget they're probably tested out in the western deserts of America, from the top of one hill to the top of the other with nothing in between. That distance is dramatically reduced if there's stuff in the way, whether it's buildings, suburbia or woodland and such like, or hills and mountains. Let's have a scan. So we're going to open the Yagi fully, of course. We've got on full range. We know we've already tuned it in. We tuned it in before we flew the bird. Oh, music to my ears. I've lost my bird. I've got a signal straight away and I'm not searching. All I've got to do now is track it down and keep it in range. So let's have a spin around. We've got a good signal. Come and have a look at this. Audible. We've got a good beep. And on here, on the graph, on the meter, better signal maybe. We're going to wind down the gain. And what I want to see, bit of movement and a good sound. Let's have a spin around and see where it is. Okay, loudest beeps over there. I'm going to wind it down a little bit more. Okay, we've got a good signal over there. Let's drop down to medium. Now, I know if we're on medium, we'll go to medium setting, full gain. Nothing. Now I know from using this bit of kit, if we can get a signal on medium, we're no more than about a good field away, so that's a good thing to know you're getting close, but we're not getting it. So we've got to go back into full distance, full range. Let's wind it down as fine as we can to pinpoint it. Got a bit of movement, good tone. And so watch this as we come around. Watch the needle, listen to the sound. Good signal. Okay, so we know this kind of area. Is the bird flying or is it settled in a tree? Let's flip it on its side. We point in the same direction, have Have a look at the needle if you can't hear the tone. Straight away, I know we've lined this up with the tail on the antenna on the transmitter. I know the bird's still flying, more than likely, because the transmitter's in the horizontal. Let's just check again. No, we're picking it up, but nowhere near as strongly. So for sure, that bird with that transmitter on its tail is in the air. Another top tip that can send you literally in the wrong direction. I was hoping I could get that to show here, and it's not showing. We know the bird's over there because we've scanned around. That's where we've got the strongest signal. Think about how this Yagi works. Very often, as you circle around, you're going to lose the signal. Watch the signal. Dropping down. We know it's not over there. Very often, if you point in exactly the opposite direction, yeah, I've got a bit of signal there. If you point in exactly the opposite direction from your transmitter, you can get the second strongest signal because it's picking it up backwards. It's picking up the radio signal on the back of the Yagi. So if you scan around, this is a really important tip. If you scan around and you've got no signal, oh, and all of a sudden, hey, I've got a good signal. Let's crack on. Always do a 360. So many people walk away from their bird because they've done a 180. Nothing. Oh, good signal. It's in that direction. Always check the reflection or the bounce back, because as it happens, the bird's in that direction. People make that mistake quite a lot. You literally walk away from your hawk. The strongest signal is pointed at your transmitter. The second best signal is often pointing in the opposite direction. Do a 360, double check. So again, we know which way the transmitter is. Let's just dial that down a bit, because the signal's much better on the horizontal plane than on the vertical. We know that bird is flying. Let's go nearer the house and see if I can show you something else that happens if there's things in the way, things in your line of sight. So very often, if you're tracking birds in a pest control, flying away seagulls with a Harris hook on top of, say, warehouses, and you've ended up back on the ground, if this was all solid structure, metal and concrete, very often, even though my transmitter I know is in that direction, if you've got buildings between you, very often it's a poor signal. Ironically, you can point to the end of the buildings and get a louder signal because the radio signal is going around the buildings. It's blocking everything out, but coming out the end of the buildings, it's actually picking up a signal a bit better. So you can walk, again, the wrong way. Always try and get height and always keep triangulating. If you think that's the loudest signal, when you head in that direction, you get to clear space, point back on yourself. You'll probably find you're walking off at a tangent. So bear in mind, the signal can travel around objects, leading you to think it's coming from the end of those objects or the end of that woodland. See if we can find any of that out a bit nearer some buildings. Okay, perfect example. Transmitter's in that direction, and we've got a massive house right between us, line of sight. Keep an eye on the needle. That's pointing at the transmitter. We're getting interference from objects and electrical. We're pointing past the house into open space here. Believe it or not, there's a tree in the way, but we're getting more of a signal because the radio signal can come through than we're getting pointing directly at our transmitter, because we're trying to go through a huge stately home. So I can tell you for sure the transmitter's in exactly that direction, but this is telling me to go off at a tangent. So always triangulate, double check. By all means, you're going to have to go that way. You don't know where you are. That's telling you that's where it is. Get in your van, depending on the distance, walk, but always do another sweep round once you get into clear space or on higher ground. Because very often, your path to find your bird with radio telemetry in a built-up area or broken countryside or hilly countryside is a zigzag pattern. You have to go sometimes back on yourself at a tangent to track that bird. Higher ground, if it's near, if there's a little hillock nearby, run up to the top of it. Line of sight's going to be better if you're high up, and expect the fact you have got a zigzag. Don't just pack your kit away and have a good 2 mile walk in that direction. When you get to open space around an object or a copse, have another scan around. Let's get a bit nearer. So we've walked a fair way in the right direction, or following this. Let's have another scan around. So, banging around in all directions. Let's just see if we can go straight to medium. Full gain, full volume, but on medium setting. We have got something. That's great, because I know with this bit of kit, we're in the same field distance. Let's just have a scan. Always double check. The bird might have moved. You might have scanned incorrectly. Nothing. Have a look at this though. Have a listen. I'm getting a signal because it's the reflection. It's the opposite way. Let's go all the way around. And there's the real direction. But is the bird flying? Yes, it is. Because of course that antenna's horizontal. It's not sitting in a tree, dangling down vertical. Let's go a bit nearer. Also, let me just show you one more thing. It's freezing cold today, and it's brought up a problem. Let's use a bit more power. We're getting a low battery light. The cold's finished off those batteries. What you're going to do, you maybe have a couple more hours track down. If this goes flat, you're done for. All of that is a waste of time. Always keep a spare set of batteries, not in your van. Remember, this doesn't work if you don't take it into the field with you. If you leave it in your car and you walk and fly your bird and you lose your bird, this doesn't work. We've all done it. Take it with you. You're not just looking for a bird that's flown away and got lost. You might be trying to find your hawk that's dragged a kill under a bramble patch that's only 100 yards away from you. You saw it go into the copse and the woods there, but you can't locate it. It's keeping still. It's hidden from you. Telemetry isn't just for finding a bird that's flown away. It's for tracking down your bird in many situations. It doesn't work unless it's on your back or in your bag with you. If the batteries are going flat, it's not going to work. Have a spare set of batteries always. In the Marshall carry case, there's a lovely little pocket for them. Come on. So at this point, we're on a medium setting. I'm getting excited. We're really on the track now. We know we're right in that same field as the bird. That feeling of kind of euphoric happiness is washing over me, because that fantastic hawk that I've trained for the last 4 or 5 years, that's never ever disappeared before, has given me an absolute panic attack. It's flown off, it's got spooked, it's chased something over the horizon. Now I know I'm almost with it. Now this isn't going to get my bird back. I've still got to get the return response. But my goodness, if I can see her, I'm going to be so much happier. Double check, keep checking. Tune it down, turn the gain down. Fine tune it a bit more. Oh, I must be getting close because it's equal. Let's just check. No. Okay. Definitely right on top of it. Look, now we're not really telling anything different which way this is, so we're right on top of it. Let's go down to near. Oh, now music to my ears, listen. We're still getting a faint signal, even on near. If it's on near, you're pretty much, with this bit of kit, under the tree it's in. Let's just get a faint signal on medium, because near wasn't giving me enough direction. Not turn the gain up, the signal's now banging. We've got to go, we're here. She's got to be on there or somewhere up on there. I'm on near, I'm getting a good signal. We're on top of this bird. It's in the nearest tree. It's probably on top of the arches. Let's just have a scan. We've turned the gain down to get the sensitivity up. Okay. Okay, it could be that tree there. Okay, I think it's in that tree. Is it in there? Probably in that tree. No, I know it's not, because we know where this transmit's is. Come on. I've lost the signal. So I'm going for this tree. I'm sure it's in that tree. Now the signal's dropped away. We're right on there. We're on top of this bird. Because it's not in the tree. It's somewhere on this structure. Okay, we're on there. It's banging. I need to find out where it is. It's in these branches. It's on top of this building. I need that line of sight. Even though I'm in front of this bird, I might have my lure swinging. Very often, if the bird can't see me, hasn't got a line of sight, literally cannot see me, it might not respond to any shouts or whistles. It's very strange. Often they're very, very visual, even if you're right near them. So we're going to dial this down. We've got to fine-tune it so I can see the bird, and then I know if I've got to move around the tree or the structure to get that line of sight. Okay, so it's not up there. It's not up there, look. Not up there. Is it on the ground? Not over there. It's right in front of us. Dial that down a little bit more. Nothing moving up there. Wow. Look how much quicker this is getting a signal, because here we are, right where we left it. Do you know what? Your bird could be under a tiny patch of brambles, and unless you learn how to fine-tune this, wind it up close and really pinpoint it, this bit of kit is pinpoint accurate if you know how to use it properly. Harris hawks, they'll chase rabbits, and they'll chase them and run, even if they haven't caught them, run down rabbit holes. If it's right underground, it's going to take a bit of finding, but if it's just in the entrance, winding that right down will help you. So remember, key things to remember. This Yagi, the beams on this Yagi, this aerial, need to line up with the transmitter's tail or antennae. That's going to give you the best signal. It's not just going to give you the best signal, it's going to tell you what your bird is doing. You know how you've mounted that. You know whether it's horizontal when the bird's flying or vertical when the bird's sitting in a tree, depending on how you've mounted it to the bird. It's not just getting a better signal if you learn about the horizontal and the vertical. It's giving you information real time about your bird. If the bird's soaring, remember, the signal high in the sky is going to come in and fade away. And then as the bird soars, another circle come in. It's telling you what the hawk or that bird is doing, as well as better locating it. Read the instructions, or just like getting any new tech like a phone, work out and play with all the dials and buttons. Learn how to use them. It's much better to have a little game than it is to try it for the first time when you first lose your hawk. Having this and this, if you don't know how to use them, it's 50% a waste of money. You'll probably muddle through knowing how to use this kit. Do you know why I use this old bit of kit that's nearly 10 years old? Because it's pretty much never let me down if you know how to use it. Falcons, eagles, hawks, brilliant bit of kit. Just learn how to use it, it'll be so much better. Like and subscribe if you like our videos. We are absolutely perishing. The phone battery's nearly flat just from the cold. This needs new batteries because the cold's sort of sapped the batteries. My fingertips are freezing. We'll see you in the next video. Come on.